I've now completed Black Myth Wukong twice and put nearly 60 hours into the game, and I have to say, while the English translation is not always perfect, it's already a huge step forward for Chinese games. Let me first explain. I currently live here in China, I study Chinese as my major at university, and I worked in the Chinese games industry, even working on localization projects, so I have a pretty good understanding of just how difficult the work can be. Chinese and English are two entirely different languages, and there are a few things that can make Chinese really difficult to translate from, such as the lack of any grammar, and the fact that there are many characters that can be both nouns or verbs depending on the context. Because of this, English language localization has typically been a huge issue for Chinese studios looking to ship their games internationally. Let's take a look at how Black Myth Wukong overcame this obstacle to become a global hit, splitting the analysis into three parts: the text, the voice acting, and the preservation of Chinese culture in the English edition. First, the text. Game text localization covers everything from character names and dialogue to item and ability descriptions. Black Myth Wukong's English text succeeds in all of these areas, and one major success is how the English dialogue really nails the storytelling style that the Chinese text conveys. Take this prologue cutscene as an example.
And so ends the last tale of Sun Wukong. A hero who treasured his freedom above all else. Buddhahood he attained, yes, but cumbersome he found the celestial rules, for he yearned to come back and to revel in the simple joys with us. Little did he know, his choice to forgo the life above only fueled their mistrust.
I don't know about you, but as a Brit, this scene really gives off David Attenborough vibes. I feel like I'm watching him narrate an epic scene from one of his documentaries. Perhaps even more impressive, however, is the effort put into the English localization of the text that perhaps wasn't even the core story of the game. Anyone who is as passionate about the game as I am, and has read all of the various poems and stories written about each Yaoguai, boss, and character in the portrait section, will notice that a huge amount of effort has been put into these translations that may not even be seen by a lot of players. Take it from me, Chinese poetry is incredibly difficult to translate in, because not only does it have its own distinct style and set of rules, but it also uses a lot of idioms and classical style vocabulary, meaning that even the most experienced translators need to do a lot of research. But with the Mad Tiger poem here, not only does it use a good flowing rhythm suitable for poetry, it even includes a rhyming couplet, all while staying true to the original Chinese meaning. You'll have to trust me on that one. To masterfully translate such complicated classical Chinese poetry into equally as artistic English is an incredible feat, and I struggle to imagine the level of difficulty involved in this work. Now let's check out the voice acting.
What in the blazes?
No tricks here. It's just my hoof. You deserve to know before we kiss.
You will live to repent this! Filthy lowlife! You dare take her form and beguile me!
My old friend, wasn't it fun? Have we not been this close since our carnage in the fox den?
Because no matter how good your dialogue may be, if it's paired with subpar or unprofessional voice acting, it can completely ruin the gaming experience. Luckily, this isn't the case with Black Myth Wukong. I can see online that Game Science worked with industry-leading game audio services provider Pitstop Productions, who provided full English voiceover production for Black Myth Wukong. Pitstop Productions boasts a showreel that includes multiple award-winning games, such as Baldur's Gate 3, It Takes Two, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and more. Therefore, it's no surprise that Pitstop Productions worked with some incredibly talented and experienced voice actors to bring Black Myth Wukong's English to life, with many of the VAs used having previous experience on Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring, and other projects. So it's refreshing to see that Game Science were happy to pay the required price in order to work with the best talent available. Other than working with top VA talent, there are multiple small details in the voiceover production that really show you just how much thought went into this process.
We raised the boy. Guess this is what we deserve.
One of these details is the fact that British English is used throughout the voiceover production rather than American English. Obviously, setting my own biases aside, This seems like a logical decision for a game that, while set in a fantasy setting, is still set in a rather medieval era, as using American English would give the game a bizarrely modern feel. One of my favourite small details is the use of specific regional accents. In the original Chinese, the Headless Monk from Chapter 2 has a very strong and unique North Shanxi accent. This accent is instantly identifiable and distinctly unique when compared to the other Chinese voices in the game. The English language voiceover production therefore decided to stick with this detail and used a Scottish accent to portray the uniqueness of this character.
This body of yours is perfect for the art of rock solid.
Although this may seem like a small detail, it's another really cool example of just how much effort was put in to make sure that the English voiceover maintains some of the unique quirks and style of the Chinese characters' voices. Now there's something I want to add at this point too. The incredibly talented voice actor that provided this Scottish accent is actually a trans voice actor, yet this is something that all of the games media seemingly failed to pick up on when they accused Black Myth Wukong of seemingly lacking inclusivity. On top of this, the voice actors actually come from a huge amount of different countries from all over the world, so in this sense the game is actually incredibly inclusive. All I can say is that the people making those comments obviously hadn't done thorough enough research. Talking about the Headless Monk brings me on to my third and final point, which is the preservation of Chinese culture and a traditional Chinese story in the English localization. This is a hugely difficult task, as when translating from two languages as different as Chinese and English, there will always be sacrifices and compromises, and if the translation isn't done well enough, it can be easy for the English to lose some of the charm and meaning from the original Chinese. Thankfully, Game Science made some inspired decisions in order to avoid this issue. They chose to retain the original Chinese version of all of the Headless Monk's songs, regardless of which language the player is playing in. This way, players from across the globe can all experience the unique Chinese regional performance and accent. Other than the songs, there was also an effort to preserve some Chinese pinyin, which is the romanized spelling of Chinese characters, rather than translate all of the concepts into English. This can be seen with various concepts such as long, yao guai, jingle bang, and the name Zhu Bai Jie. By using pinyin, Game Science invited players to experience an authentic, traditional Chinese story, while also introducing them to some unique Chinese concepts that they may never have learnt about had pinyin not been used here. For example, if Yao Guai had been translated as monster or demon, and Long had simply been translated as dragon, then gamers would have taken their previous understanding of these words and applied them to the new concepts seen in Black Myth Wukong. And so by using the original pinyin, Game Science were able to avoid these misconceptions while also introducing players to new concepts from Chinese mythology. To sum it up, the text, voiceover production, and the effort to preserve the original Chinese story are, in my opinion, absolutely second to none when discussing Chinese to English localization. Having worked in this industry myself and understanding the sheer scope of this task, I truly believe that this is the best quality localization I've ever seen to come out from a studio in China. Hopefully, this is just the beginning, and in future more players from across the world will be able to learn about and experience epic Chinese mythology through Game Science's works. After finishing the game, I simply had to find out who was the translator responsible for this masterpiece. And luckily, not only was I able to find him, but I was even able to interview him for my channel. So make sure to subscribe, because in the coming weeks, I'll be uploading footage from my exclusive interview with the genius responsible for bringing this fantastic game to an English language audience.